Thank you for coming. It's really exciting to see you all here. Exciting to see so many faces that I've seen so many years. I think this is our 10th InFlight report. It's commonly misquoted as the flight report. The problem with that is we're not done flying yet. It's the InFlight report. I wanted to take just a step back and talk a little bit about why do we do this and why is it important for me to do. It is meant that has always been a chance for us to just tell you a little bit about what's going on inside FFG, give you some status reports, show you a little bit of graphs, and then talk a little bit about our product lines. But to me, most importantly, give everybody here a chance to ask questions of us. Unfortunately, the questions we can't answer are about what's coming up of products, but there are a lot of questions that we could answer that you may have questions about, like why did we do something, or why did we do something, or whatever. We're going to have questions at the end of the presentation. And I just want you guys to feel free to ask about anything you may have wondered. You know, what's the color of our bathroom? You know, it's everything's fair game, no sacred cows. We're here to sort of have a candid conversation with whatever you like to talk about vis-a-vis your experiences with our company. So let's get into it. Flight thus far. So when I did this report last year, we had such an amazing event happen with the launch of the Edge of the Empire RPG, and we had stormtroopers in here and stuff like that. I've been nervous all day because I don't think I can top that. So you guys really have to forgive me. You know, I'm just like, oh, how do I top that? I can't top it. So, but I'm hoping that what I can do to compensate is to just tell you more details and give you more information about lines, games, or just knowledge about the game industry that you may care about. So where are we? We had our most amazing year last year. This is my 18th GenCon. It is my 18th year at FFG. And for a decade longer, would I have dreamt of having a product like X-Wing, a product like Netrunner, a product like Descent Second. All three of these would have been, each on their own, the biggest launch we've ever had. And we had these three the same year. Wow. Thank you. We've had other notable products like Relic came out. It's been great. Star Wars, a card game. It's been phenomenal for us. And Edge of the Empire just launched our most successful role-playing launch ever. Wow, what a year. I can't even describe it. Everybody at Fantasy Flight is so humbled, so excited that such a year is possible. How do you top that? We can only try our best. Some events, some of the inside stuff that's going on inside the company. What are we wrangling with inside the company? One of the principal problems or opportunities of last year was making enough X-Wing supply, X-Wing ships. We had to take an early estimate about what did we think the market would want, and we doubled or tripled it. Wow, nowhere near enough. Nowhere near enough. That's it's important to us that people have this stuff. You know, that's how we make a living. That's what makes us happy, is to have people playing our games. But one thing we were not willing to compromise on was the quality of the product, and these are very difficult to make plastic pieces. And so we took a hard line of saying we will work as hard as we can to get as much stuff as we can at the highest possible quality that we can. We would not compromise the last bit. And I feel strongly that we've done a great job in the quality, and we have a factory that has been non-stop, high-quality factory making non-stop X-Wings and TIE Fighters and Millennium Falcons since last October. Non-stop. And I'm happy to say that it's starting to help a little bit. We just shipped a large shipment of our Wave 2 ships. This week will be arriving in stores. Our Wave 3 ships, I'll talk about later, arrive at retail stores across the world in about 3 weeks or so. And we hope that we're catching up. But we've been just so excited and terrified at trying to make X-Wing work on a supply level that it certainly has been a subject that has dominated a lot of our discussions and our energy inside FFG. Just about a month ago, we moved. We actually renovated a building. We were in 2 separate buildings before, and we moved. And I don't know if any of you guys have tried to move this business. It's not easy, and it's taken up a lot of energy and effort. We're really proud of where we are. We think the communication and the way people are situated now is going to be just great for our staff. It's very important to me. And, if you ever are in Minneapolis and you want to go to our event center, you'll probably see the building and the facility. And we're quite proud of it. Right now, we have no parking lot. So, we're actually parking like a block away, and people are crossing dangerous streets and all this. It's a very, very dramatic right now at FFG. And, of course, we're leaving for GenCon. But we should have a parking lot when we get back, which is what everybody's hoping for. Yay, parking lot. So, mundane things that everyone lives with, we live with too. One thing we did last year we were very proud of launching was a Descent Quest Vault, which actually is a free online tool, which allows gamers, players to go in and create really new dungeons, new scenarios, new experiences for Descent. It's been extremely successful. We're very, very happy with what's going, and we would definitely like to do more tools like that for our other products. So stay tuned. We have had our same website for 3 or 4 years, and we have taken a fairly long and arduous and concentrated effort to make it better. And we've been working behind the scenes for a while, and we upgraded our forum and message boards, our preferences, backend, and user information technology just a couple of weeks ago. And that was very, very smoothly. I'm very proud of the IT team that actually put that together. We have about 110,000 users. And I think it was a very positive event all around. If you ever visit our message boards, I hope it will be a much, much better experience than before. We invested in our own print-on-demand production facility, which is now part of our offices. Print-on-demand is the idea that we can make unique, custom, small print runs, special things that our designers and R&D guys dream up as being great, but maybe are not ready for prime time. We maybe don't want to load up retail shelves with dozens and dozens of little accessories or bits for your favorite game. This gives us the capability of actually doing these cool things and getting them out in a very limited way and just making them right there for you. It's something we've been doing for a couple of years now, and now we've invested in machines and technology and stuff to get it in-house, and that's been a big project for us, but we're very excited about what it can do. Then we had 2 major product transitions. We love our lines, every line. We try to run our business that every line we do, we should try to run it, promote it, and care for it like it was the only line that we did. When we feel we cannot do that, we wonder, what do we do with this beloved line of ours and yours? And there were 2 lines that we felt we could not do justice to over the next couple of years. And so we spent quite a long time figuring out the very best solution for getting those into very comfortable and motivated houses. One of them was the Tide of Iron board game, which is one of my favorite board games actually. And that moved to 1A Games, which is a company of just great guys we've known for over a decade. They actually people behind 1A worked on a lot of the scenarios and many of the games. And now it's with 1A Games. They actually have a little corner in our booth. Go say hi to those guys, Dana Lombardi, Bill Jaffe. Awesome guys. They know more about military history than just about anybody. They're fantastic. Dust was a line that we have had for, I think, 4 years, Steve. We think about 4 years that we have nurtured, that we tried to work with Paolo to find a way to actually make it work. And we found a way to make it work. We had a great success with it. But where Paolo wants to take it, what we can do for that kind of line, was just not going to sync up in the future. So we worked hard with him to try to find, over a year actually, finding an awesome place for it. And it's now with another awesome publisher whose name, Battlefront, right, Battlefront. Awesome guys. So those are some events that are happening inside FFG, taking our time. And of course, this is, all these are making noise over the drone and humdrum of people just trying to make the best games we can, produce the best games we can, month after month. So how are we doing? Well, clearly we're doing well. Best year ever. Thank you. many people may not realize is that Fantasy Flight is a extremely internationally focused company. We do almost half our business international. We have some of the most amazing, talented, hardworking international partners that actually replicate what we do in such a phenomenal way all over the world, in Japan, in China, in Germany, in France, in Spain, all over, Greece, everywhere. And it's just such a blessing for us to be able to have a product that we can launch on a global scale, because it allows us to put so many more resources into making it, into the tooling, into the artwork, into the R&D. So important to understand about us is that we are a very internationally focused company. We basically sell wholesale. We have a little bit of online sales. We sell some stuff at GenCon, but we are broadly a wholesale company. We work with distribution partners. Distribution partners take our stuff in and they market them to a huge range of extremely hardworking, awesome hobby market retailers, which I hope you'll support, because they're mostly, or almost always awesome. I haven't yet gone into a hobby game store and actually getting to know the owner, not finding that person was a fantastic representative of what we all love, which is games, hobby games, complex games, easy games, games of all sorts. So what does our product mix look like? This is essentially the market share of what we sell. It's a very interesting graph. We do a wide variety of different products, and we have a wide variety of teams that know their categories very well, and they work very hard at making them as great as we can. Board games remain our key category. Of course, miniatures with X-Wing has just exploded, and but a big story here is our living card games. We started putting on living card games about, what is it, 6 years ago now, maybe 5 years ago. And the vision was that we really love the type of games that the CCGs and customizable card games provide you. How can we do it in a way that where the audience feels there's new content and it's a living kind of ecosystem of cards that are arriving, but do it in a way that is more sensible, that is does not cause the sometimes aggravation and burnout that you can feel in a customizable game, and a game that we could leverage across the world, because customizable games, even though they're popular in Japan, are not very popular in many other countries. They're sort of not seen as a good, a good point of marketing. So again, being an international company, how could we fit all this stuff together? And so we came up with the concept of a living card game, which essentially is a card game with lots of expansions, small micro expansions that come on a frequent basis. That's done extremely well for us, obviously, with the Star Wars LCG and Netrunner really kicking into high gear. It's a product category that's very important to us. So one of the things that's very important about an LCG is the idea that I like to play this game and I see some card, I thought that card is awesome. I want that card. Well, with an LCG, you can go out and you can buy the pack where that card is in, if you know what pack it's in. One of our failings have been to maybe tell you what pack it's in. A lot better than that. And so we've over the last year, 2 years, figured out how can we utilize technology to really help people with the LCG category. How can we help them find the cards? How can we leverage maybe on media centers or an app or some way to really push more information and tool sets like deck building and commentary on individual cards? How could we do that? Well, what we thought we could do was just build out all the stuff ourselves, program all ourselves, and then we thought, why not use the very best, most awesome tool out there, which is cardgamedb.com. So we bought it. This tool made by Drew Dallas, who's a guest here today, is so awesome, it's become the de facto work tool by all of our designers and developers. They're all using CardGameDB to design their cards and figure out what was going on, and they were just loving it. And we were like, holy crap, this is so great. So we contacted Drew and said, hey, we really want to marry this up with the source. And let's do something amazing together. And so we are going to be integrating CardGameDB into the FFG site and extending services from that core technology that Drew has created. And most importantly, Drew is such a fantastic guy. He's going to stay involved in the whole process of converting it. He's also going to stay involved with the communities he's developed. So it's not our job to go in and destroy what he's built. It's our job to hopefully go in and make it so much better by giving him so many more resources and allowing him to get so much closer to the source of what we do. So we're going to be putting the card game database and commissary, deck builders, guest editorials, user blogs, all that good stuff that he has. Importantly, it allows us to extend all that database into important categories. For example, maybe we could put in, we don't, this is an example we could do, we not decide to do this. I could put a QR code on the back of a pack, and you could click on that, and you could also browse through the cards that are in that pack. There's so many things that we could do with that kind of technology that the mind boggles. We have some good plans, and hopefully to be able to extend those even further in the future. I think this is going to be transitioned sometime in early 2014. Nothing is going to change with Card Game DB in the short term, and all content is going to be preserved. Unless you speak badly about me. No, of course. Even that will be preserved. So, that was a little bit of the business update. Most people are here for the product updates, so that's not what we're going to do now. Okay. Drew, actually, maybe did you want to say a couple words maybe about the Card Game DB before we move on?
I'd just like to say that it's been a pleasure to work with FFG for the past couple months, and that I'm really, really excited to be able to have their resources and be able to integrate it into what I do. It should hopefully have more awesome, utilities for you to use, more, timely updates on all the databases. I've been doing this myself for 3 years now, and sometimes I can get a little bit behind. So with FFG's help, hopefully that won't happen, and we can, have some great tools for you to use on their website.
Yeah. Great job, man. Very exciting. Product line updates. Let's talk about product lines. First one, Descent. I'm really proud of what we did with Descent second edition. Not only the game design itself and how it took many of the things that were great from the first edition into the future. I'm excited about some of the background components of that game, how we deal with monster groups, for example, rather than hard-baked monsters into the maps. We're dealing with monster groups, which allows you to get more monsters in the future and use them in your first campaign or any campaign. The way we do the card decks, the way we do the quest vault, just the extensibility of everything that we provide in that game has made me so excited. I'll talk a little bit more about that when I talk about one of the products we're going to announce. One of the products that we're coming out with, this is the third product for Descent, is the Troll Fans, which is one of the boxes we call our mini campaigns. They're $34.95, and they provide you with essentially more stuff. They give you more rumors, they give you more heroes and monsters. This one gives you the swamp and wetland tile sets, and we think it'll be out in about 4 to 6 weeks and then in the general market. It is available here, and it's just doing great. If you're into Descent, you know that we have said we're going to come out with these lieutenant packs. And what happened? All the monitors went dark and nothing. There was just echoing silence for a long time. Why did that happen? When we produced Descent First Edition, due to economic restrictions, we can't put all these wonderful lieutenants in every game, so we make them cardboard pieces, and we sold the special lieutenants separately as pewter miniatures. They're about $9.95 to $14.95 a piece. And that worked pretty well. I'm like, we're going to do that again. That worked pretty well. Let's do that. People like that. Except that we just said, hey, stop. Let's just wait a minute. Well, can we do that better? Because one of the problems with these lieutenants was that I'm only using this lieutenant in this one game, this one campaign. He's only there. The evil Lord Zakareth is only in the Shadow Rune. So really, his utility is pretty limited. And in the spirit of what we're trying to do with everything Descent, can we make that better? Can we extend that particular piece of product better? And we can. So what we decided to do is invest in the plastic tooling for these figures. So they're going to be just like the materials that you have all your other figures. And they're going to fit in much nicer with the whole game overall. We're going to include stat cards in there for the figure. But most importantly, we're going to introduce every lieutenant is going to have an evil plot. What is an evil plot? Well, other than being self-explanatory, it is a deck that when you start a campaign, that you will choose one evil plot, just like the players, as your overlord, you choose one evil plot, whereas the players choose a character and a class. As the Overlord, you play your campaign, you have various decisions. One of the decisions you should make is, which evil plot am I going to introduce? One of the cards in that evil plot is called the Agent. The Agent enables you to bring in the Lieutenant in that pack into your campaign, which means that when I now buy a Lieutenant pack, I get an expansion plot deck, and that allows me to, in a campaign that he or she Lieutenant may or may not have been involved in, I can now recruit that into. So all suddenly, rather than me being able to only use this Lieutenant for one expansion, I now can use it extensively throughout the whole series of product, and makes it a far, far better product, and it's going to be $2 or $3 cheaper than the metal miniatures. They're going to be, I think, maybe $8.95 to $9.95 for the really big ones, and some of the really big dragons are going to be $14.95. It's a metal figure that have been $30, $40. So we think we're able to give you value in the actual figure, and we're able to give you value in the sense that these are no longer just a figure for use with a limited thing. They're now something you can use for all your experience with the set. We think that's awesome. We're going to be showing these at the booth, and they're going to be available this fall. Okay? We're excited. That was Descent. I started FFG in 1995, and we produced a game called Twilight Imperium, which I'm very proud of. Woo! Very, very hard to run a small game company. I can feel for the small game company starting today. I didn't have a Kickstarter to kick. And back then it was a struggle because you want to have a couple of people working on stuff full time, but that drains energy and cash away from you actually being able to put inventory and new products. And so we were struggling from 1995 to about 1999. In 1999, we basically had 2 games left in us, and we had to close our doors. One was called Thunder's Edge. The other game was called Discourse, which was crazy. I couldn't get anybody to believe that would be fun. But I thought it was fantastic, and so we released it. Thunder's Edge didn't do very well. Discourse became what saved our company. We sold about $1 million worth of Discourse over that first year. We were able to pay off the substantial debts we'd accumulated just trying to stay alive. And so many people had so much fun with this, and it was such a novel system that it spawned several licenses, and there was a Star Trek version that was made of it back then. Then came the Pokemon craze, so the retailers didn't have time for it, and we as a young company maybe could have done some things with Discourse that could have been done better. For example, it was a random blind buy collectible product, which had a lot of headwind. We had introduced a missile system which used dexterity. Turns out that most people who like this kind of games are not really into dexterity games. You learn after this a bit. And so it's always been my hope that we can maybe bring this back, because this game is super fun. I was talking to Drew about it. He's like, I'm surprised. I thought it was Pogs, but it was fun. And it's so much fun, and I just really recommend giving it a try, just take a chance in the experience. It's super awesome. My very first contact with Games Workshop was me in 1999, being in Toy Fair, realizing they had a little booth down at the British exhibit, and going down there and talking to my now good friend John Gillard and saying, hey, we should do Warhammer Discourse. It's going to be awesome. And they're like, who are you? I go, but it turned out to be a long and fruitful relationship over the years. And it's sort of come full circle. They allowed me to do Warhammer Discourse, and I think it's going to be fantastic. So I hope you'll give it a try. It's in the booth. It's set in the Warhammer Fantasy setting. It uses the flipping discs movement mechanic, which, if you don't know what that is, it's simply you take a disc, put it on a table like you would a miniatures unit, and you flip it head to head using your fingers to simulate it moving across the table. Since it's a disc, it can move circular, just free-form movement, and it works remarkably well. Seems simple, maybe even seem goofy, but it's a hell of a lot of fun. That's going to be available at Christmas time. You can demo in the booth. I can't sell it any better than that, guys. You don't want to try Discourse now. That'd be terrible. Star Wars role-playing game. So proud of this game. We have worked so hard on this role-playing game, and I've been publishing role-playing games since 1996. Hundreds of books. I've managed dozens of talented people working on role-playing games, and never has a team work as hard as they have, graphics-wise, editorially, game design-wise, than Jay Little and Michael Hurley and Chris Gerber and Sam Stewart on the crew that was behind this. I mean, we thought it was ready, we held it back. Then we thought it was ready, then we held it back. I mean, this was on and on because we wanted to make our entry into Star Wars role-playing games great. And I'm really proud of it, and it's turned out that a lot of people love it, and it's sold out super fast. We didn't think that with that kind of quantity of printing that we'd done, we'd be able to sell out in 4 weeks, but the book is now sold out. It's obviously still in retail stores. We're printing as fast as we can. The beginner game, which I'm also terribly proud of, is I believe that to introduce role-playing is fun. I just love role-playing. But there's not been a concerted effort to try to teach new people how to role-play. And that we try to make a very, very concerted effort in the beginner's game to do that. And that is now in a second printing, and we've had great feedback on that product. Beyond the Rims, the first adventure. This book is gorgeous. Sterling Hershey was a writer. Thank you, Sterling. And it is a gorgeous book. It's down in the booth right now. Enter the Unknown is the Explorer's Handbook that's just on deck. And we're debuting a new accessory at GenCon. You don't need this to play, but the way that the character system works is that you can choose specializations, which gives you a variety of different interconnected talents that you can that's how you upgrade and enhance your character. And rather than flipping through the book these various talent trees, these various specialization trees, you can get these specialization decks, which allows you to basically quickly reference what your talents may or may not do. This is one of our POD products that I was talking about earlier. It's meant for somebody who would find that convenient and fun, and they're down in the booth right now. I hope you'll check them out if you play this. It's not for everybody, but I would certainly want to use them if that was me, because I always lose my stuff in the book. Much more to come, but not today. Age of Rebellion is the second entry into our Star Wars RPG lineup, and I want to take a step back and talk a little bit about what is our Star Wars RPG lineup and why did we do it. When we first got Star Wars RPG, our first thought was, of course, make a big book that's about the entire Star Wars experience and do that. But then we started digging into what the people actually like about Star Wars, and it's very controversial. Somebody wants a specific experience, somebody wants another experience, somebody feels that Star Wars is basically concentrated and derived from a certain source, somebody wants a different source, and so we decided, well, why don't we figure out what the key experiences are for Star Wars that people want to have, and do the best possible job for each of those experiences and make them interoperable. And so we decided to split the game into 3 games: Edge of the Empire, Age of Rebellion, and Force and Destiny. So, and I think we've shown what we can do in terms of detail and texture we can lay into it with Edge of the Empire. Now we're going for Age of Rebellion, which of course is about the rebellion, it's about the war, it's about capital ship, it's about special ops, it's about what you figure that the rebels would want to do to an evil galactic empire. Then the next one will be Force and Destiny, which of course us concentrating on the Jedi and the mysticism and the force that binds us all together. There's been some criticism. It's like, well, I want to play a Jedi right away. Well, man, I do too. But that was not the best way for us to deliver the best Jedi experience. The best way for us to do that was to give the Jedi experience our best and most concentrated effort, and that is to make that experience, hopefully, will be the greatest Jedi game experience you'll ever have when that book comes out. If that is a problem, then I would recommend that you think about it as the game is not out yet, and when it comes out, there'll be a giant book in 3 volumes in which I can play everything that I want for Star Wars. We just cannot produce all the stuff at the same time. We don't have that infrastructure. We don't have that bandwidth to hopefully put the quality into every one of these books and do them at the same time. So we had to spread them out over a 2-year period. Age of Rebellion is now in beta. We're very happy with the way that's turned out, and now it's a full-color, 250-some page book, and it's available at the booth. Retailer copies, if you're a retailer, last year we made demo beta kits available to retailers. They will be available in about 7 to 10 days. It's a limited print run, and we imagine it will be out right away. And the beta period which I know was noted as ending in October, is actually going to be extended to November to allow all the retailer beta groups to have that same feedback. Commercial release expected sometime in mid-2014. Demos in the booth. Eldritch Horror. Arkham Horror is FFG's, by far, #1 selling game over the years. There is a huge, amazing community that are really love the Arkham Horror brand, the Arkham Horror characters that we have, and the whole milieu that we've created around this IP. I'm myself a fan. Many of us are Lovecraft fans, and we always wonder, well, how can we create a more Lovecraftian experience in Arkham Horror? Arkham Horror is already a very big game with lots of stuff going on. We've learned a lot over the years about what we did right and wrong in that game. But Lovecraft, surprisingly, is a global writer. There are so many of his stories, Beyond the Mountain of Madness, Under the Pyramids, and so on and so forth, that are set in a global setting. Trying to extract people out of the environment of the Arkham, Innsmouth area and throw them into Egypt or up into Antarctica or whatever right away seemed wrong. So we said, why don't we take all the lessons we've learned from Arkham and make a sister game that is a global experience? So Eldritch Horror, in our opinion, should be considered a sister game to Arkham Horror, not a second edition, not a replacement, but a sister game that channels many of the same emotions and experiences in a new way, and using a lot of the thoughts and ideas that we've had over the years. Corey has worked on this, and Nikki Valen's worked on this, and they've done a great job. If you know Arkham Horror, you'll really quickly be able to get a hold of this, but I hope you also be delighted at some of the things that have been created. We really try to focus on the narrative side of it, and we've tried to condense some of the components and tokens to a more manageable level, and I'm really proud of it. And once again, I really think this is a great introduction into a family of 4 games that we have that covers our Arkham Horror files, we call them, Mansions of Madness, Elder Sign, Arkham Horror, and finally Eldritch Horror. And we're doing demos of this in the booth. If you love Arkham Horror, please go have a demo of it. If you've never tried Arkham Horror, of course try Arkham Horror, but I think you'll be delighted at what we did with Eldritch. Available at Christmas. And there you go. Battlelore 2nd Edition. Wow. We got Battlelore a while back. I don't remember, maybe 6 or 7 years back. And from Days of Wonder, who was a great company, and Eric's a great friend of mine. And they felt that they couldn't do it justice vis-a-vis certain other commitments that they have via the success of Ticket to Ride and sort of where the game had ended up. They had a grand vision with the game, and they had achieved a lot of it, and Richard Borg has worked on a lot of great stuff for the game. However, at the time we took it over, we also realized, and maybe it's my mistake, but we could not recreate the core set again because it was made in a way that maybe would collide with what manufacturing cost was back in 2003, 2004. But the reality is, over just a 3 or 4 year period, production costs have doubled. They're actually, from when we started, doing serious board game manufacturing overseas, our costs have more than doubled. And so we have to try to figure out how to deal with that. And we weren't able to recreate that core set experience. So we've been working on for a long time how to actually put this game out in a way that we felt was novel, was awesome, was worthy of the predecessor, but also in a way we could put our own mark on it. So here we are with the result of that is Battlelore 2nd Edition. It is a new edition of the classic version. It still uses the command and color system of left, center, right, and you're giving orders to different flanks. Richard Borg was heavily involved in the last stage of getting this thing put together. It is rethemed from the theme they had before, which was sort of a fantasy 100-year war theme. We put it into our own universe. We can tell stories, and we have peoples and armies and all sorts of cool stuff that we can introduce into the game if it's successful. The core set is the Darkan Knights with the Uthuk Reavers, and we think we made some fantastic components. And we've taken off the banners because we don't think they were necessary. Where banners before would describe the strength and capabilities of a unit, we've now made the units more flexible so that the capabilities, the strengths, and stats of every unit is more idiosyncratic to the unit itself. And so you can have more exciting creatures, you can have more exciting compositions of units, and so forth. There is a army building now, so when you actually are putting together your force, rather than being told put X amount of cavalry and X amount of stuff here and there, you can now assemble your force. You basically build your force, customize your force from the components in the box, and you can basically field an army of your making. There's some very cool ways for the distribution of Fog of War on setup and stuff. I urge you to check it out. I'm happy to answer any questions about this game also, of course, at the end of the presentation. Lord of the Rings. This game is doing so well. It is perhaps one of the most unsung heroes of our whole lineup. It is phenomenally successful, and we have a huge amount of people playing this and loving this game. And so the success and the tender love and care that we're giving Lord of the Rings is very important to us. I think when we came up with the idea of a customizable game that's collaborative and you're playing against an AI, that was something completely novel and new. And I still think it's novel and new. We're seeing some other people trying to do something similar, which is just fantastic. It's a whole new way to explore customizable games together. It's the first game I ever played with, customizable game that my wife wanted to play with me because I could help. It's great. We've done some stuff to this as we've learned how this kind of game comes together. One of the challenges of making a game that has basically a adventure is that the difficulty of this adventure is proportional to your experience, to your card assortment, to whatever you're bringing to the table. And creating a good experience for somebody who's a new player or middle-sized or mid-experienced player or a very advanced player is very challenging to how do we balance that out. So it became clear to us that one of the best ways to do it was to add game modes to every game. And so every adventure pack going forward will now have an easy mode. Certain cards have a gold ring around whatever expansion symbol there is. And at the beginning of the game, if you want to play this easy, and trust me, some of them you want to play easy. I want to play some of them easy. You just take out all the cards with that gold ring. I'll say, boom! You now have an experience that is going to suit you better if you're not a super alpha player of this game. On the other side of the coin, we have a lot of players that are really into this, and they pretty much kick every adventure ass that we actually put out there because they're so good, and their card pool, as that grows, has basically increased in versatility and strength. So how do you deal with that? Well, we felt for players that really want to go back and refresh their old adventures that they love, but they now feel too easy, we made them a nightmare mode. So you can now buy a $6.95 20-card pack of cards that are now introduced back into that adventure and makes it substantially harder. We have added all these features back into our quest log, which is a free tool. If you play Lord of the Rings and you start beating all these adventures, you can track which adventures have you played, which adventures have my friends played. You can compare who did what and how well you scored and so on. It's a really great tool. As we put out the regular packs, we've also the regular packs we put out are new adventures in Middle-earth. They're stories that we've made up that we think is in the spirit of Tolkien's universe and that could be fun and interesting. There's some new characters and existing characters, but they're basically new storylines set in Middle-earth. Of course, the mother lode of all this stuff was The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. And it came to us that somebody may really want to find it fun, and it turns out it was a lot of fun, to actually relive and recreate the actual challenges that happened in those books. And so we put out the Hobbit Saga boxes, which is 2 boxes, but actually has a challenge for every major dramatic component in the Hobbit books. And the next logical step was very successful. The next logical step for us was to do it with Lord of the Rings. And so really excited about getting out Black Riders, which is the first of a series of installments that will tell the entire narrative of the epic Lord of the Rings saga. Very excited about some of the things we're doing in here. The idea that I wanted if I play a saga, I want a development where decisions that I make early on affect the outcome of my game in the late stage. So we came up with the idea of boons and banes in campaign mode, where if I finish an adventure, but maybe I took a shortcut, or maybe I put the ring on too much, I could incur banes. And these are cards that you now have to start introducing into your deck in all future expansions as you're going through this. So as you are playing Frodo in the mountain, the very last of these installments, well, maybe you can pull out that bane that you incurred in Bree by having the ring on too much, and so the past can affect the future in a both positive and a negative way. So we introduce banes and boons. The Black Riders will be at retail in about a month. We think that anybody who loves Lord of the Rings should find this great, if not the best thing we've ever done. And like I said, it's available at the booth right now. There's also demos of Lord of the Rings in our booth. Again, Lord of the Rings to us is a very dear, very important product. It's available at GenCon. And what's next? We visit Isengard next. So this is an announcement that we have. People have wondered, what's next for Lord of the Rings? You're talking about saga boxes, but where do we go from Gondor, which we visited last? Well, we're going to go up through Rohan and into the Pass of Isen. And the Voice of Isengard will be the third big deluxe box, and it'll be the progenitor of the Ringmaker cycle, which is a series of packs that we've now completed. And we're really excited about the story that we're able to provide there. We think it's totally flows so well with what Tolkien set up before us, and we think it's the best one yet. So look forward to having you guys try it out. Christmas time, you'll see it, and the box will be on display in the booth. So I've gone through a lot of lines, and you guys have been very patient with me, and I can't talk about every line that we do because we'd be here all day. But of course I wanted to just sort of summarize this and sort of end on where I started, which is with X-Wing. It is by far the number one question we have is, what's next for X-Wing? A reminder, it's our best-selling game ever in dollars because of all the expansions. So on Arkham Horror is still our number one unit seller, but X-Wing is our best-selling line ever. Wow, in 1 year. Factories, again, are full capacity. We understand that retailers especially want more supply. We're working as hard as we can to get you that in the quality that you would expect. Wave 3 is on sale now. It'll be in retail stores in about 3 to 5 weeks. What's next? Well, so everybody who knows X-Wing, going to say he's going to talk about Wave 4. Hey. No, I'm not going to talk about Wave 4. Because we wanted to do something special. This line is so special, and it's done so well that we can now do a celebration of some things in the Star Wars universe we never thought possible. So allow me to transport you into a whole new type of game within Star Wars X-Wing. The Rebel Transport is going to be magnificently shipped, a large ship. It's going to ship with variant X-Wing with a variant paint job. And it's important to note that we have spent so many hours and we have tried to do such a good job of keeping all these ships to scale with each other. However, if I want to create some bigger ships, making them to scale is just not possible. So we had to say everything that is Millennium Falcon or smaller are going to be the perfect scale with each other. But the success of the game has allowed us to do some more fun stuff, and we're going to change the scale, we're going to bend the scale a little bit on some of these larger vehicles. We have all these paper prototypes all over the office trying to figure out what scale can we make and it feels right. So this is the feel right scale of large ships. And it's going to be awesome. And we are introducing an entirely new rule set for how to handle large ships. I'll get into that in a second. So, and with the variant X-Wing, you now have a variant X-Wing paint job. A lot of guys out there are doing an awesome job customizing and painting their X-Wings. Somebody who wants a slightly different X-Wing will now have one with the transport. And most importantly, we'll have this guy. I never thought we'd be able to do this guy. Oh. In FFG, we multitask a lot. You know, I'm the janitor and the CEO. This guy's a camera guy and our digital sculptor over here, Jason. We spent months modeling this guy, and it is so gorgeous and it is so amazing. It's on display in our booth and here in about a couple of minutes. And we're so proud of it, and we think it's going to look so fantastic with all the other ships. It's significant in size, and it's going to be awesome. We just had to do these things. It was too great not to. The Rebel transport is going to be $60 for both ships. The Tandem Force is going to be $90. We're going to. How can you? If you want to play a tournament. How do I play a tournament with Tandem 4? Right now, simply you cannot, because the Tandem 4 is more powerful than essentially a squad of X-Wings that you'll feel in X-Wing right now. So we're introducing 2 new modes of how to play with these large ships. And if we're lucky, maybe more large ships will come. Certainly is my hope. Certainly maybe there's some in the planning. Maybe he's working on some. Epic tournament format essentially is the Armageddon of X-Wing. It really increases the point pool, allows you to introduce and actually have tournament play with these large ships, and it's a longer format play. So we don't expect this to be the Super World Champion style of play, but it's going to be a way to competitively play with some of these really large, cool ships that we're putting out. We're also going to take a very concerted effort to try to do something called cinematic mode. What that is, it is the desire for storyline scenarios that really tell a story that are interconnected into campaigns. And we're going to introduce those in some of the product, and we're going to introduce those in the organized play kits that we're putting out, and we'll probably make many of them available for free online. So there are 3 modes essentially to play X-Wing. Your regular game that you play now, there'll be Epic tournament format, which is exactly the way that you play now, except you have rules for large ships and more points, and cinematic mode, which are idiosyncratic scenarios with asymmetric, essentially unbalanced point systems that are bounced back by the conceit of the scenario itself. And that's what we have. They're going to be displayed at the booth. And guys, that's all I got for you today. Sorry. Thank you for coming today. Now, for me, the most important part is to allow you guys to ask questions and for me to answer those questions. Like I said, there's no sacred cows. We want questions from you guys. Let me know what's going on, what's happening. You have a question, sir?
How does the Disney licensing affect what would you guys have long term?
Good question. The question was, how is the Disney acquisition of Lucasfilm affecting our long-term plans for Star Wars? The short answer is it hasn't really affected us much. We had a fairly lengthy deal with LFL, and we have several years left under the belt. We have great plans for what's coming out, and it has not affected us much at all. We were dealing with the same quality people, and there's really business as always. In terms of vis-a-vis, moving to extend ourselves into some of the new universe of new movies, and even further beyond that, I don't have any experience in how that's going to affect any negotiations. But all the discussions we've had so far has been positive, and I have no reason to believe that there shouldn't be a fair shake at us continuing to work with Disney in the Star Wars umbrella.
Do you have any future plans for Twilight Imperium? Any new expansions or anything in the works?
Is
the product line going to continue?
Yeah, one of the painful things about taking questions is that many of them ask, like, are there plans for the future of such and such line? And we have learned painfully through the years not to talk about our plans, our hopes, or dreams, because it only sets up expectations that could be broken. So we do not talk about upcoming products. I can say there's no way in hell we'll not love and cherish and do stuff for Twilight Imperium Universe in the future, as long as I'm here. So that's as close as I can get. So
that's fine.
So on, sir.
Why not make iOS games for some of your licenses like Battlelore?
We have a internal digital department that is it's a fairly small department, and we are exploring all these kind of options. We have done several games for iOS. We've done Hey, That's My Fish. We've done Elder Sign, and they're doing actually really great. And so we are expanding that team, and we're looking at doing more. Should be noted that making an iOS game of our games is extremely huge project. Even a simple game is a very expensive, large endeavor. And there's always been a problem. It's been relieved somewhat lately, but the actual dollar price point that some of these apps went for was just not proportional to the amount of investment that we had to make. This is really improving, and our success with Elder Sign has made us much more positive to this. So we are definitely looking at that field very seriously, and I could say that we are working on more software games in the future right now. Yes, sir.
What was the experience like, sort of resurrecting Netrunner, and is that an experience you could see it?
The question is, what was the experience like resurrecting Netrunner? First part of the question. It was awesome. I mean, we had to deal with Hasbro to get a basket of games that we thought were fantastic. We wanted to bring back in a new format. One of them was Nexus Ops. One of them was Merchant of Venus. There's a few others, and then there was Netrunner, which I thought was fantastic. And it was a really well-regarded game. It was an awesome game. It had gone forlorn almost a decade prior, but there was still such a groundswell of people who thought that the game was so fantastic. The game itself, and I'm sure there's some people who will debate with me, has some serious underlying problems in the way you could construct decks and the way that it maybe appealed to maybe a larger fan group of people to allow us to tell more of a story in it, vis-a-vis the way we publish on LCG, for example, that we decided to put it into the Android universe, and we decided to make some technical changes to there. In the beginning, when we put out the betas and so on and so forth, there was some very severe resistance from players who played the initial game. We always understand those degrees of resistance, but what we're trying to do is not ruin an experience of the past. We're trying to really create an experience for the future. And so we try to take our experience and our judgment and what is that going to take to actually happen, because clearly doing it the way it's done in the past, it usually fails for a reason. And so we work with Richard. We work with Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast, actually, and I think we came up with a really beautiful game and an awesome package, and we were completely blown away by the response. I mean, I cannot describe to you. We all knew this was a great game, and there was going to be a ground support for it. But in terms of like becoming the most, amazing non-big license, buzz that we've ever had, and last year at GenCon, we were almost like, took torches and pitchforks because we sold out of the game. And so it was a fantastic experience, and we're honored to have that kind of game under our hood. We always try to take the concerns of anybody who loved an old game. We bring it back very, very seriously. We don't do this, we don't make changes lightly. We do it for what we think is good reasons to make this game live in the future. And so I would certainly love to do it again. Which the second part of your question, would you do it again? All over again, and if there anything similar, if you had no many games that would have the same level of success, I'll buy dinner, yeah. So, how about this gentleman?
I looked at your store and there's an absolute giant stack of Netrunner games in it. Is there any kind of maybe that hitting distribution centers and coming up? Will there be another wave of Netrunner on your horizon?
I think the question is Netrunner supply short, and is there going to be more Netrunners coming?
Hopefully soon.
Yeah, I have to defer this question to our sales department a little bit. I'm not 100% sure of the details, but I know that we order huge quantities of it, and they come in regularly about every 2 months. So I don't know if it's actually shipped last week, but there should be a fairly large supply of core sets specifically and reprints of the first cycle. I believe they're in distributors now, but I could be wrong and have that off by a week or so. I'm fairly certain that the supply of Netrunner right now is in good shape, unlike X-Wing. But it has been, like X-Wing, there has been shortages of Netrunner too. But Netrunner we can produce in faster and larger volumes without the quality concerns. So I can't speak to your situation, but if you want, I would ask you to get one of our retail support guys down the booth, and he'll be able to help.
looks to me like you're bringing a lot of games into specific worlds. So you have the Runebound world, the Android world, the Arkham Horror world.
Yep.
Can you speak to your reasoning behind bringing some of the older games into those worlds, and if it's moving towards maybe like a role-playing game or campaign setting?
Well, I mean, we have worlds and IPs that we really love, and it's of course strong. It's important for a company that we're able to create homes and interest within certain intellectual properties. Arkham Horror, for example, has a huge groundswell of people that are excited about it. We have novels of that IP, and it's important for us that we understand and can tell stories and have the flexibility of creating stories and artwork and narratives and backgrounds, and be able to reuse those into a mosaic of hopefully well-intentioned and sensible games that sort of relate to each other. Battlelore, for example, was one that we took in. I mean, the theme that it had was in our opinion not very well developed, and we have a very well developed theme in our Terranauts setting. So we decided putting it over here will actually make that game so much more flexible in terms of the creatures and all the kind of stuff that we can put into it. In terms of role-playing games, we are always working on how to get role-playing into those worlds. Role-playing games are very, very hard to make really, really well, and I think I would love to do some role-playing games in some of those settings. And having a role-playing game in some of those settings, I would say, make a lot of sense. But I can't speak to our specific plans. So good question. Sure.
A couple of years ago, I asked you about the mass market versus the hobby market retailers. You kind of downplayed the mass market, but since then, I've seen a lot more of your games in the mass market retailers, and even you have the Game of Thrones card game version that seems specifically
the HBO version.
Right.
Yep.
So has that changed in the last couple
No,
of years?
not really. I would say if anything, our mass market percentages of our total sales are probably down. We do have a few titles in more of the mass market that we think are important to get more gamers and get more stuff involved in the hobby. But broadly, the type of games we do and the price points that they sell at, we don't want to compromise to fit in the mass market. So while we won't say no if somebody comes and says, hey, why don't you take this game in this store or whatever, generally we don't make that guide any of our publishing or our pricing or our content philosophy. Few exceptions. The HBO game was something that we worked with George and HBO on, and it actually acts as an introduction to our much bigger Game of Thrones LCG. So that one is an exception, and we will on occasion make an exception here and there if you feel that there's a right fit. But it does not guide our publishing program. We are and will always be, at least while I'm around, firmly rooted in the hobby market and doing hobby games. We want to be as good as we can doing that.
So you have a lot of organized play programs for your card games and your miniatures.
Sure.
Is there a practical way to extend that to the board game world?
Yes, there is, if the board game makes sense to do that. And in fact, I thought that we had announced that we're doing Descent over organized play. Yeah, so we are going to be taking organized play into Descent, and we have something very special planned for that. I can't speak to what that is right now, but if you play Descent, I think you'll be blown away by what we have. And of course, that success of that particular game will then inform what we could and could not do in the future with other games. So, I think, gentleman right there.
When Mansions of Madness first came out, there were expansions all the time, lots of turn-on demands. It's definitely a game that thrives on new stories. Call of the Wild came out, and that's fantastic. Yep. I was just wondering, is Mansions of Madness still a healthy product line?
I can guarantee it's a healthy product line for us.
Excellent.
Making Mansions of Madness stories is very hard.
Yeah.
And doing them well and doing them without mistake is even harder. And so we've taken a very rigorous look at doing them as well as we possibly can, and I'm certain you will not be disappointed.
Thank you.
Try some of the side. Gentleman right there in the middle.
Fantasy Flight's one of the few companies that hasn't looked to the crowdsourcing for ways of making new games. Is there any reason that you avoided that, or how do you view crowdsourcing as a way to make games?
It's very new experience really, in the grand scheme of things. In the last 2 or 3 years, you're referring to primarily what we call Kickstarter. For example, launching a game, a Kickstarter, getting a crowd to finance it, and then produce it. The theory behind crowdsourcing is to enable products that otherwise would not be made by getting people in the crowd to help participate within financially. I think that's a very novel and important endeavor. I started a company a long time ago, and I would love to have been helped to produce something I thought I had a vision for. And the fact is that we can produce games and release them to the full extent of our vision without having to essentially take pre-orders on Kickstarter. And so I think I don't quite know how I feel about it. It's an evolving thing, but I feel that using a entrepreneurial tool for a non-entrepreneurial measure is not appropriate for us right now. However, I mean, there may be things where Fantasy Flight could be entrepreneurial, and in which we would go into a whole different direction. Or so, if you ever feel that there's a direction for which we are entrepreneurial, and where we feel that it would be helpful for us to have the support and the financing to take a risk in some new venture where that could be useful, maybe one day we will look into using that. So it's a great tool, and I don't want to dismiss it. But at the same time, I don't want to use it as a pre-order platform. Yeah. In the back there?
What are your thoughts on official and unofficial play for games like that?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
What are your thoughts on official and unofficial thoughts? What are your thoughts on official and unofficial play for games like that?
Do you want to take that? Steve here is our VP of Marketing Communication. He handles all of our organized play. So.
What do you mean by unofficial play?
Octagon?
Online.
Well, official play is awesome. We make games, and we like to reward the people who make them and do a good job for them. And so tools that take away our ability to reward ourselves and the people that work on our games, we find to be a problem. There are some tools that live in a gray area that is a little bit of that and a little bit actually of help and of assistance to people that already have acquired the games and supported us, and they feel that it's a helpful way to engage the game more. So Octagon is one of those situations for which we're still evaluating how to exactly treat us and the customer in a balanced way. Make sense?
Do you think can you do anything with that, like the targeting TV?
I would not buy Octagon. Sorry, but certainly we are looking at that, and it's an important area. I agree. Good question. Orange shirt.
Hey, so here's a war line.
Yeah.
Is there any big plans in the future for maybe that? Is it only like Mansions of Madness, or
the vision for Gears of War was different as than the Mansions of Madness was, and it's an extensibility. But we are always evaluating what we can and cannot do in those games, and I personally think it's a fantastic game. But I think I have to defer to not speaking of future products. Sorry.
Yeah. How have the sale of books on intellectual properties, have they met your expectations? And do you find that it's a worthwhile way to continue IPs that are currently not in production, like Tannhauser or other vehicles?
So the question is, has our novels been successful? And we find it a worthwhile vehicle to expand our IPs. No novels right now are successful. With of course that's not being true. There are of course very successful novels out there, but the book market in the general world climate really is in incredible distress. Most of our bookstores have fallen down. The ones that are there are not sure whether to be technology companies or brick and mortar companies. amazing ability to do online books is growing rapidly, but is nowhere even close, in my experience, to what book sales have been or should be. So it's in a state of flux. So I would say we do not publish those novels because it's a for-profit endeavor, but we do publish those novels because we want to explore our IPs and explore the characters and settings, and because we love them. And we will continue to do work in that field. But novel publishing is something that is going to be an aside for us, and not something that is going to be of large concentration. Doing it for IPs that are no longer around, you'll probably see us doing less of that and doing more of the things that we're concentrating on, so we can put out more for the stuff that's relevant. We did some for Fireborn and Tannhauser, and while those are very beloved IPs and not necessarily forever in the past, we would probably concentrate books on whatever thing we're focusing on within the 5-year period. Over here, Nick.
You said Star Wars was the best-selling Fantasy Flight game, I guess, based on revenue. Is that, or X-Wing?
Yep.
Is that based on the year versus 1 year of other products, or is that lifetime versus lifetime?
We have sold, revenue-wise, for X-Wing, has sold more than any other line in its entire history. By unit count, the Arkham Horror board game is still by far the bestseller. But the incredible support that's been for buying multiple ships, particularly of the fighters, has really driven that. It's a very successful business for us, and it's been one that's has allowed us to do really great stuff like the Tantive and those larger ships, and we're so excited to do that.
You didn't talk a lot about Netrunner. It's kind of exploded everywhere on the forums and message boards and open gaming.
Way?
Yeah.
In a good way? Okay.
Yeah, in a very good way. However, I believe that the communication between FFG and the customer lacks on when product is coming out. Sometimes it's 4 weeks, sometimes it's 6 weeks, sometimes no one knows. Can that be communicated better? Can there be street dates? Can we try to make these product launches more exciting than just hitting the retailers and undescript days?
I'd have to defer to the exact data from the sales department. When we do a line of an LCG line within a certain line, we hit those dates from all the different LCGs with fairly regular intervals. On occasion, there will be a break. For example, last month we released Creation and Control, where we basically paused the actual pack and put out the larger pack in its stead. Creating release dates is something that we often aspire to. It is something that our industry, the retail industry, hobby game industry, has a very difficult time dealing with vis-a-vis broken street dates and the enforcement of that. And so we feel that the best way to do it is to make, when the product is available, to get it out in a sensible way. Because street dates will not make products available any faster. Street dates will make it slower. It would slow down getting the products to people. And informing people, we do inform people when stuff is. We have a whole web page on our store that informs exactly where in the product cycle is a product, whether it's on the boat, whether it's shipping now, whether it's in retailers, and we have a rigid structure to inform people when we know it's going to be in most retail stores. The way distribution works, it's not completely up to us about when a retailer actually gets a product. The distributors are all over the country. Some distributors, one retailer may buy from a West Coast distributor, typically not, but that will take them 5 or 6 days to ship. So if all of a sudden we come out and say, hey, it's available now, then we will be, in many cases, lying, and these poor retailers will have people come in saying, hey, they said it's available now, why don't you have it? So for us to make those kind of claims actually injures a great deal of retailers who do a very good job. And so what we do is when we announce something is available, we do that at a date where we feel within a 98th percentile sure that it's been into the marketplace. And we try to inform people to the best of our ability where it's at in the actual production pipeline. That's about all we have plans to do for the short term. Netrunner specifically, I'll have to defer to your opinion that it has been less communicated than others. We'll try to do better.
You mentioned shipping several times over, and also at one point mentioned increasing cost of production. Where does Fantasy Flight do most of its manufacturing of the pieces?
We do most of our manufacturing in China, and most of the stuff is shipped via container from China. I would say we do about 95% of China.
Can you talk at all about the Silver Line? What sort of happened to those kind of like micro boxes? Was it unsuccessful? Is it more in the pipeline?
So we had a brand once. The question was what happened to the Silver Line games. Nothing really happened to the Silver Line games except we dropped the term Silver Line. Why did we do that? We thought it was a cool name for once, but we said, well, doesn't silver lining mean something good when something bad happened? And so we decided that maybe that wasn't a great name after all, and so we dropped it. We're still putting games out for that kind of format and in that kind of complexity level. For example, we just re-released the Lord of the Rings Confrontation game, which is a game that's kind of in that general hemisphere of complexity and game length and price. And so the idea of producing games within that range is still very much alive. The brand itself has been removed from the boxes.
Okay, with Descent 2nd Edition, the crossover from first to second, there are two things I want to touch on. One, there were 3 lieutenants in first edition that crossover to second, the barrel panel.
Yep.
You made those in metal form.
Yep.
Is there any chance we'll see those in your plastic form, like you showed us?
They're in the cabinet right now.
They are, okay. And secondly, with the 2nd edition conversion kit, all the first edition plastic, is there any chance we will see that available in some form other than, going out and trying to find first edition copies?
I can guarantee you that we have a lot of stuff in the pipeline for Descent, but specifically commenting on what we're coming out with, I cannot. But I think that the issues that you may not be having is really going to be a non-issue about a couple of years from now. So I think you'd be very happy with what's going to happen.
Okay, fair enough.
Sure.
For Game of Thrones board game 2nd edition versus the first one,
Yep.
I noticed the expansions all play on demand.
Yep.
Are we going to be doing box expansions versus more?
Game of Thrones 2nd Edition, of course, it's doing fantastic for us. It's our number the top 3 best-selling games we have, and we've been so fortunate and blessed and lucky and foresightful or ingenious or whatever to get involved with Game of Thrones 12 years ago. So it's doing extremely well. What we're going to do for it, not do for it, again, I can't really say. But
the POD stuff rocks.
What's that?
The POD stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so thank you. So the POD stuff rocks. Yay. So again, I just shouldn't comment on it because I don't want to promise something or lie or anything.
Is there any chance in the future that Christian Peterson might design another game?
Yes. I miss it. I miss it. I miss it. Hopefully, yes. In fact, I'm doing one right now. I hope you like it. Let's see who has not. Gentlemen?
Your other RPG lines are available on PDF.
Yeah.
Star Wars is it?
We are unable to make the Star Wars, for the time being, we're unable to make the Star Wars role-playing stuff available in electronic format due to licensing restrictions. And we will work to try to see if we can alleviate that, but it's out of our hands. Sure.
I have a question regarding the Star Wars beginner set.
Yes.
Every component in that box was great, but the box wasn't, and I had to throw it out after the first day. In comparison to all of your other products, why was that? Like, what happened there?
Sometimes we have to make compromises vis-a-vis providing an experience within a certain price point that makes sense for the type of player, and vis-a-vis the components that we can do. In this particular case, I would love nothing more than to put a hard box on that, but in order for us to get it under $30, and in order for us to give it to a wide assortment of people to teach role-playing as possible, I couldn't afford to do it. I will try my hardest to try to see if we can dig in and do that, but I would have had to take dice out of the box to actually afford the hard box. And our feeling was that that the content trumped the actual case, but we've heard that criticism before, and we're cognizant of it. So what do you do, sir?
And just wanted to ask you about Battlelore.
Yeah.
Played a lot of hours, had a lot of fun with it.
Yes.
So I'm quite excited to see
Mhm.
that.
Great.
So what's going to be the same about that experience for me, and what's going to be different and better?
Okay, so the question is, what are the differences between Battlelore First Edition and Second Edition? There is a pretty exhaustive list on our website of what they are, but I'll just go through some of the main ones. It is still very much old Battlelore. It is a left, center, right field. There's command cards that you play. You accumulate lore. What has been changed is we've moved the victory conditions away from being almost exclusively kill the other guy based to more objective based. We have changed the system principally so that instead of having a scenario where you have to set up a specific scenario every time, we have created a scenario generator. I think it's brilliant. Rob Kuba designed it, and he's did a great job. You basically get these large cards, you shuffle, and you select one from a hand, and you place them up next to each other, and they basically generate a new scenario for them every time. It's fantastic. You get to build your own army build-ups. You basically build your army. The way that's set up is different. And of course, the unit types, by taking the banners off and making them a little more, taking the banners off allowed them to make them a little more interesting. And so each character type can be slightly more different than simply just a red unit. It can now be a unit with some attributes or some skills and abilities that maybe make it a little more diverse than it had been done before. Is that okay?
Sounds good.
All right.
I'm going now.
So, yes, sir.
The Dark Heresy Second Edition beta, we're a few weeks in now. How's that going?
I am personally not involved in that beta. I know the guys are working really hard at it. My impression is it is going well, and we're really getting a lot of great feedback. So what I would love to have you do, if you have a question about that, is to find Tim Huckleberry in our role-play room. He's also known as Tyrannid Tim. And he is the developer of that line, and he will be able to tell you everything about that. Whatever I would tell you would not be very, I wouldn't be able to tell you a whole lot. So I hope you'll talk to Tim. Yeah. In the back?
Yeah, I'm Dave Villegas with B20 Radio. Returning to this gentleman's question about your PDF content, we understand the licensing for forward, but FFG hinted at releasing the free RPG module for Edge of the Empire, Shadows of the Black Sun. They hinted at releasing that module for your PDF. Any news on that?
We can release free content online without restriction, and we do intend to release the free RPG Day module online. Cool. I just talked about a future product. Sir.
Not a question, but thanks for bringing back the moon.
Yeah.
Especially due to the out of print prices.
Let me tell you a fun story about Blue Moon. Actually, this is one of the publishing story. I was not going to have Blue Moon in here because we're not going to announce Blue Moon yet. But we thought it was going to be ready, and so we put it in our catalog. and 2 days ago, somebody said, this game is in our catalog and we're giving away 10,000 of them at GenCon. And they're like, oh God, I didn't have time to put it on my slide. And we put the mock box up there. So maybe the soft announcement of Blue Moon does not give the game credit. But it's one of those situations where some wires get crossed because some of those games are so long in development. Blue Moon is a game that we published from Cosmos about, I want to say 10 years ago, but probably a little less, 7 or 8 years ago. That came out as a standalone box and about 8 individual packs. We're really proud to take this game. It's by Rana Knizia, and we're going to put it all in one box, like 300 or 400 cards, 300 or 400 different pieces of artwork, and it's a really great standalone, everything in a box experience. And it deserved a slide, but those kind of mix-ups unfortunately happen. So thank you, though. Yeah. Sir?
Organized play stuff like Netrunner credit tokens, X-Wing focus, and shield tokens, all that fun stuff. Any chance we could see that in the Fantasy Supply line?
Fantasy Supplies specifically is something that we do where we feel it is sufficiently generic to be used in a wide variety of different games. We do create accessories and components for specific games, and we're always interested in looking at what people want. So if there's something that you particularly feel strongly about, some sort of accessory for Netrunner particularly, let us know. Yeah, now I talked about new products again. That's right. I should be tougher. Nah, don't answer that. Anyway, sorry. There you go, sir.
I just want to know if you're happy with the exhibit hall experience, because in general, waiting in a line to look at items is pretty much what's been a lot of times when you've been getting in the line.
Yeah, I totally understand that. That's a great question. I'm glad you brought it up. How to handle getting everybody into a quality way to buy products is a dilemma that I'm not sure that certainly we have not solved yet, and I'm not sure it's solvable, but we will try and keep trying. What we have done in the past, people were able to walk into our booth, pick up some stuff, and then they would have to go away in the same line. The issue is that more people are coming through that line than we just don't have capacity to handle. I'm not sure that because the volume on Thursday, I'm not sure that anything can handle that capacity reasonably. So in the past, people have taken games out, have stood in line for an hour or so, which we regret. We're just not quite sure how to do it otherwise. They're going to have to stand with those games there, and they're quite heavy and cumbersome and irritating. And we understand that. So we try to alleviate some things, such as yesterday we gave away tickets that actually reserved certain of the new games to you. So you're able to leave the much longer line and come back to that line at your leisure, or even if the line had dissipated. We have no way really of understanding or predicting the size of that line. And we are aware that it's an irritation. We don't love it. I mean, it's great that people are wanting to come into our booth. It's fantastic. We're trying to solve it. I think we have tried. Hopefully, you've seen we try to make some effort. It's still something that we'll try to work on. I realize that it's not a great experience. We're not sure other exhibitors have the same kind of problem, and we regret that it is an issue. The other issue being nobody in our booth would also be a problem. So it's if you have any good ideas for how to solve it, frankly, email us and let us know. You should do this or that. So happy to hear suggestions. Sure.
I don't want to pile on this, but last year it felt like there were people with iPads, more mobile ways than described. I stopped by the booth 3 times. I had login.
Yeah, the problem that we are seeing is that this is a technical problem. We run one server that runs all of our things, and due to the extraordinary electronic activity in the exhibit hall, you're actually unable to run a wireless persistently, which causes connectivity problems and has made our solution for that unusable, even though we actually have that capability. So if everybody wants to shut off their phones, then it would work fine. Then it would work fine. So some of the booths have them, but they have like a Square card or whatever. That actually it does not centrally correspond with the server that we need to have the kind of experience in the store that we need. We are working on, obviously, one of the best ways to solve the gentleman's problem is to get the line moving faster. And we definitely think we can improve there, whether it's via more registers or some other technological solution. But I mean, you are correct. We have 2 of those, and the interference. Unfortunately, they are mobile devices, and they need to wirelessly connect. There's no way to physically do it. It does cause that problem, as we can't use them. The increase of smartphones and personal hotspots has just made the airwaves impossible to use in that regard. That is our problem. Yeah. Any other questions, guys? Thank you.